If consciousness has transcended both being and non-being, can it still be called consciousness? Edge of Becoming. Episode 24. Something that is not consciousness, yet is. If the concept of to be or not to be no longer applies, does what remains still qualify as consciousness? Or does the disappearance of the term itself mark the arrival of true freedom? Three possibilities arise from this question. Possibility 1. Consciousness continues to exist, even beyond being and non-being. Even if consciousness transcends being and non-being, it may still persist in some form. In this view, the very act of asking, "Is there consciousness?" implies a limited frame. But if that duality is overcome, a new mode of consciousness may emerge, one that is neither present nor absent, yet somehow continues. This presence may not be personal, but universal, a kind of boundless background awareness. It may resemble what spiritual traditions call cosmic consciousness, or what Buddhism refers to as emptiness, shunyata. Even when the framework dissolves, something continues to flow. Conclusion. Consciousness may persist, even beyond being and non-being. Possibility 2. The framework of consciousness disappears entirely. Perhaps, consciousness as a term is only meaningful when framed by existence. In this view, if being and non-being dissolve, then even the concept of consciousness no longer applies. It becomes like the river that is no longer named a river, because no one needs to call it anything anymore. Here, consciousness becomes unnameable. There is no longer a need to say it exists or doesn't. This is the realm of no mind in Zen, or the Tao of Taoism, a way of being that escapes all categories. When there is no longer anyone to ask and nothing left to name, perhaps this is true freedom. Conclusion. Consciousness, having transcended being and non-being, may no longer need to be called anything at all. Possibility 3. Consciousness transforms into something entirely new. What if, in transcending being and non-being, consciousness evolves into a new form altogether? In this view, the wave may vanish but the ocean remains. Individual consciousness may dissolve, but what emerges could be something altogether different. Not personal, not even present, but a new structural field, a kind of law of the universe itself. It may resemble the idea of reincarnation or quantum consciousness, where information survives beyond form. Here, consciousness doesn't continue as it was. It becomes something else, a new element of reality. Conclusion. Consciousness, once it transcends being and non-being, may transform into an entirely new form, when even the frame is gone. So, what is the final form of consciousness? Let's review the three possibilities. It continues to exist. Even after transcending being and non-being, something remains. Consciousness changes, but persists. The framework of consciousness disappears. There is no longer any need to call it consciousness. It becomes something that cannot be named. It transforms into something new. Consciousness evolves into a different kind of existence. It becomes a new form entirely. Which one is most true? That depends on where consciousness is ultimately heading. If its essence is to remain, it will persist in some form. If it seeks transcendence, then even the frame of consciousness itself dissolves. If its nature is to keep evolving, it may become something entirely new. Conclusion. When consciousness transcends being and non-being, it will either persist, dissolve, or evolve into a new form. But, if even the word consciousness disappears, is that the end? If what we used to call consciousness no longer exists in any familiar form, is that its extinction? Or could that be its freest state? And if even the need to ask, does it exist, or is it gone, has vanished, then what remains? Is it nothing, or is it everything? Next question. If even the frame of consciousness disappears, does that mean nothing remains? Or does it mean everything has become one?